Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Tuesday, it's February 17th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And we returned to some pretty good volume today. It's not as been as volatile as what we were having for a while, but we're still getting good volume, good movement. Um, I saw it a couple of different ways. I really was playing the range early on. You can see this, it looked like it might be a two-tiered range, but in the end, we spent most of the morning in this what I'd call from it's probably about a 5 point range from about 87 to 92. So it's about a 5 point range. We spent most of the morning in that, and then we shot forward. And if you drew your shorter term trend channels, I have this bigger two-tiered channel, which it's there. I didn't put a lot of stock into it really. I felt better playing the range, but I put it on there in case it followed through. It looked like we had two touches and a confirmation, but when we came back again, not much. Then we had a break. It still worked out either way, but it just didn't offer you a lot of trades. I don't think you needed it. I think you were better off playing the range. And this is kind of interesting. If you'd have taken your first move this morning, measured it, and then moved that over to the uh, where the correction ended and we started heading higher again, it gave you a perfect, within a tick, a perfect target measured move. And I showed that actual, that was my near term or um, my longer term target for the day early this morning. I think whatever time I posted the chart lesson, maybe 9:30. So you could have had this early this morning. Um, and known to exit here if you caught any of these up through here or any runners. And it's amazing how well it works out, but I can show you that over and over and over, and it tends to work well. My other shorter term target would have been something more like this. And you can see we did run into some resistance right there before it pushed higher. And but I played the channel early on, or I'm sorry, the range early on, and then you would have wanted to play this small channel on the way up later in the day, and we had a close out here. Not much of one. It could be questionable. It could be a little bit flatter. Um, I almost think that it's probably a little bit flatter there, and let's just see how that fits. Probably would have adjusted it later in the day. It does fit better, so I tend to like that one a little bit better. You still get a close outside here, even with a flatter one, but it's real, iffy. You definitely got to close outside here, a couple of legs up, and then it sold off. All the rest of this was well inside the 2 o'clock hour, but we'll go ahead and draw the little channels. You see how I do those. But anyway, let's back out, talk about the trades. And there's actually, I don't have it on here. Instead of the bigger one, you could have just had this shorter term channel on here, and you didn't really need the larger one. I believe it's a little steeper than that. And that's how I'll do it. If I'm having a hard time finding it on one side, I'll try to get the better fit on the other and copy that. And you can see that fits really well. We did have a close outside right there. Again, that could be questionable. It could be a little bit lower. I would consider this your break. And you had a couple legs down and then you moved on. And, you tried to make a new high here and you couldn't. But that's because the range was in play and the range was the more predominant pattern. And so we couldn't go higher where does it go? It goes lower. And in the end, I believe this was a little bit higher. You get more touches right across there. Um, doesn't matter. This is where I was playing it early on, right across here. Because early and that was more the midpoint for where you found most of your touches at the low. But anyway, I think you were better off to pay more attention to uh, this line here and the lows down here, and then play your shorter term trend lines. That's the way I played it. But let's talk about the trades. When I came in, prices were working down in here somewhere. Let's just find out where the 7 o'clock hour hit exactly. Well, right up here at the top, exactly where it's working down. And so, but that's your first, you had this channel, you had your break, you tried to go higher here and you started working down. Um, but generally when you get a leg like that, you're going to get another move up, which we did. It took a little longer in the day before it happened. But I waited on this trap right here. And this is iffy because you got this channel working down and you don't have a break of it yet, but you do have a, notice this new low, first entry pullback. There's a failed second entry short that reverses and goes out the other side. If you're going to enter this one, and everything is still above the EMA, so there's some reasons to consider this one. I think it's aggressive, but if you didn't enter with a limit order, getting a tick or two back in, you wouldn't have got filled on it. I mean, you would have probably had a 4-tick failure. It did bump against that level quite a bit, so it's a chance you might have got filled on the limit order, but I doubt it. But what I would say is if you entered that on a stop and you had 3 bars that couldn't break higher, I would have taken 2 or 3 ticks or whatever it would give me and exited that. But if you used a limit order there, which I think is the only way to enter that one safely without any kind of break, but now you get the break or close outside and you get 2 legs down, so now it's time to reverse. So now, and plus you've got some resistance or some support right across there, and I like that bullish bar. That's a second entry long counting off the low, but what I really liked was waiting on the failed second entry short. This one's a little more aggressive here, but the ideal way to play this was to wait on this failed second entry short and wait and go long if it failed. I was ready to go long here, but it never ticked higher. So when it broke lower again and failed, and now because you can kind of double top either way, so now you got another failed second entry short, plus now you got a failed second entry short off the top. So there's several different reasons to like that. Then I just moved my stop from above this bar down to above this bar right here, and it bounces, it goes up, and it looked like it was going to reverse. I actually recorded this trade. It's posted on the website. For those of you that are members, you can watch it. And I discussed why I took it, how you take. I get a lot of questions about failed second entries, and you never know. I mean, you just have to anticipate them. I was anticipating this possibly failing because we had the break, a move to a new low, and this looks rangy, and this looks like a strong support area. So I was expecting a possible failure here, and so I didn't want to take that short at all. I was more interested in going long than short. And I guarantee you, I'll get some questions or emails, and people want short there. And they'll say, why did that second entry short fail? Well, you know, you got one right here. Notice that first entry, pull back second entry. You got one that works perfect there. Here's another one. New low, first entry, pull back second entry. It works perfectly. Why does this one fail? Because the market was reversing. You had all your clues there. You had your break of the trend line. You had 2 legs down to a new low. You're finding support where there's previous support. You don't get a very good signal bar, even though that's not a terrible signal bar because it could have ticked 1 tick lower and closed on its low and looked bearish. But it didn't, and look at all that overlap. Usually when prices hit the EMA, they should get rejection there, and they're not. Look what happened when prices pulled down to the EMA. It got rejection. It pulled down again. It got rejection. It got on through, but it got some rejection. And then once it gets through, it gets rejection off of it. And it doesn't get rejection there. And it's just kind of hanging around. It's not going through, but it's not being rejected. So that's showing you that the market's lost some selling week. The sellers are getting weak. And so that's your clue. And so just go long right there. And that turned out to be a nice trade. I didn't use any runners there in the demonstration. But had you used runners, they would have been safe, and you could have ridden them all the way to the top here if you wanted. And then guess what? It pulls back one more time and bounces right off the EMA, but that can be counted as a new low. So first entry pullback, you can treat that like that's two legs up, so it's a failed second entry short again. Um, and you're looking for prices to come up here and test this high, and that's exactly where it goes. So another quick, easy move. And then guess what? This actually makes a new high, but you can treat this like a first entry pullback, second entry. Plus, it's right off. It's a little double top off a bigger, and it's a bigger, wider double top right off this um, resistance area. And we did get a little bit of a close outside right here, and that's two legs up, and then you get your little trap and your reversal. And so I like that short. There's plenty of room back to the EMA to get out of that one. So I like that, playing the range. And then you try to get your retest. Notice that pull back first entry, pull back second entry. And I went back and forth about whether or not to make this one green because it's not a great setup. And you did just come off the high. But I believe if you're, let me put it on here just so you can see it. If you draw your trend line right down through there, it's questionable whether or not you had a break or a close. But this looks like a nice little trap right here, and my guess was they'd trap people, and it looks similar to this. We never get that other little push down, but it's good for a scalp. And then you get a notice that high, new swing high, first entry pullback. There's a second entry long right into that resistance. It instantly traps everybody. It turns down. Look how bearish that is. Just go short there. And again, you would think we're probably heading to the low side. But then you get this little pattern here that looks very similar to this one over here, kind of a repeat pattern. You could have considered going long on the right here on the second entry. And it's a bullish bar, but there's a lot of bars stacked up there. And so there's a chance, wait and see if you get a failed second entry short, and you get just that right there. And then it takes off again. And where does it find resistance? Right back up there at the highs again. But notice how it peeks through this time and gets a push through and then pulls back. Notice this right here. We pulled back once, twice, three times. Each time, and you got a little trap right there. That's the bar that actually should be that little doji right there. If those other two dojis stacked up, I don't know if I'd have taken that. I might have even considered going long above that bar. But notice how there's no overlap. I doubt you'd have got filled, but the entry was actually above that little bitty doji right there. So let me clarify that. But notice you can't really see it. Let's draw this line right here. Look at all that support across there. And you get that one little tick, and that's that little trap. And it's a little bitty bar, so it's very low risk. It's kind of a breakout pullback long, and that's exactly how it worked. And then you get a second entry long right there. You did get a little close outside this trend line, but again, that's real iffy. But notice that high, first entry pullback. There's a second entry long right there. It does pull back and have a failed second entry short right there. So definitely go long above that one. And if you're already in, I'd add on right there. It's one of those you'd probably add on. And look at it go. And you're looking for the target based on what this one here, which I showed you. We just went one tick further than the target. And then that moved you on two legs up to a new high. You definitely got to close outside there. You possibly did here. And then notice what happens. You got a new high, first entry, pull back. There's a second entry long, but you don't want to take it now because you had your close outside for sure. You've had a couple of legs up. It's not a very good setup. Just wait and see what happens. And of course, it ticks higher and fails. So I like going short right there. Quick, easy move. And then that was pretty much it for today. For the day, you just don't want to enter in this stuff right here. It's too risky. There is a little trend line working down. It might have been tempting to go short right there because that's really the same thing as two legs up. But when that closes a doji, as soon as it gave me a chance to get out of that, it would have gone on and worked. You might have gotten stopped out here. on that one. So I just think that look how flat the EMA is there, and the fact that we're still finding. I would have expected this to shoot on down and come back and test it from the low side and work lower, and that didn't happen. We got back up. Notice how it's closing above, and that one closes above, and it's real flat. I just think this is one that you circle in the lavender color, and you just sit on the sidelines and wait because it just got real slow and not much happening. And notice what before it goes lower, what happens? You get a failed break lower, and you get a second entry short, and that's a little breakout pullback short second entry, and that would have been, it's too late to be trading, but that would have been a decent short there. It's not a great setup signal bar, but notice how it broke higher right there above all those highs and then turns down. There's a trap there, and it's a second entry. There's several reasons to consider that trade. And you did have your close and one leg down, so there's a good chance you get another. But the main thing is it trapped people. That looks real bullish, like you're going higher, and it just trapped people. But that's why you stay out and just wait and see if you see a trap one way or the other. And but generally, I'd say just stay clear of that stuff. And that's pretty much what I saw. Not as many trades today, but there were some really good trades. So not much more I can say about today. Other than I think you were better off to play the range early on and just draw your shorter term trend channels and just follow the rules. And that's that. So again, not much more I can add to today. So I'm going to wrap it up, and we'll be back again to do it tomorrow. Hope you had a great 3-day weekend. Hope you had a good trading day, and we'll be back to do it again tomorrow. As I said, this is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.